Vanessa. My name is Mimi Ong. I work at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL. And my job there is a project manager for Mars Helicopter. As you know, Mars Helicopter is a technology demonstration flight experiment that Mars 2020 Perseverance rover is hosting. And we're going for the attempt at flying the first ever flight on another planet. I've been really excited about this phone call to talk to you because I'm getting to share with you the news that your proposed name has been chosen as the name for Mars Helicopter.
Well, that's amazing.
So on behalf of our entire Mars Helicopter team, I'd like to thank you for our name for our Mars Helicopter. Ingenuity is the perfect name for us. We love the name, so thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You wrote an essay for Ingenuity. Would you mind reading it now?
Ingenuity represents the most remarkable things that humanity is capable of. It encompasses creativity, discovery, intelligence, and advanced thinking. These are the characteristics that define and enable human progress. They are the qualities that allow us to accomplish feats such as landing men on the moon or sending a rover to Mars. These achievements are not just the product of pure determination. They are a combination of human perseverance and ingenuity. The spirit and curiosity of people gave us a reason to do something as incredible as go to the Red Planet. But ingenuity is what made that journey possible. The ingenuity and brilliance of people working hard to overcome the challenges of interplanetary travel will allow us all to experience the wonders of space exploration. Ingenuity is what allows people to accomplish amazing things, and it allows us to expand our horizons to the edges of the universe.
Yes. 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everybody. It's Scott Roberts and Jerry Hubbell, and hiding behind a curtain is Tyler Roman.
I'm hiding. I'm hiding.
Are you hiding? You're just the voice behind the screen. There you are. So pretty incredible. I don't know if everybody got to watch all of that, the videos from Perseverance landing. I mean, it was just amazing, all those camera angles and, you know.
Yeah, I just watched that a little while ago. That was really cool.
Yeah, so they said something about the microphone. I didn't watch it long enough to hear about what they said, that they didn't get audio or something like that on the way down, or maybe they got it, but they didn't have it in time for showing this video. I'm not sure, but I'm anxious to hear what Mars sounds like, you know, too, with if they actually did get some of the
Audio.
Oh, Cameron says, yes, love the clip with the landing and the chatter.
What amazed me was seeing the parachute deploy in the blue sky.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. It's beautiful.
Looked like Earth. I mean, kind of.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I don't know. You know, I'm you know, I watched it. I had my Oculus on, you know, because they had it available for YouTube's VR. I think it's YouTube VR is what it's called, or whatever. It was just, you know, I could just see it in big screen. I thought I was going to get treated to initially I heard about it. I go, really? You know, they're going to have like this 360 view or something, you know, but they'll save that for later, next Mars rover, you know. So maybe they'll be broadcasting it almost live. Who knows?
Well, when they were broadcasting, what was I watching the other day? This weekend, maybe there was some broadcast they were doing 360 camera, and you could on YouTube, and you could move around and see they had two big displays, and then they had the room they were in. You could pan around and look at everything, and that was kind of cool. That was a live broadcast they were doing the other day. Maybe that was on Thursday. I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Tyler treated us today. We have, you know, I showed earlier on one of these programs that we were getting in giant binoculars, and we finally mounted them up on a proper tripod. Okay, instead of the little photo tripod I was using before. So these things are really substantial right now. And they made up this, where is it? Oh, here it is. We made up a solar filter designed specifically for them, you know, so just fit over the front of the binoculars. And we saw some amazing sunspots today.
That looks like Bender's faceplate.
How come Tyler's like muted?
Doesn't it look like Bender's
working?
Not muted.
Okay.
Surprised Jerry knows what that is.
What's that?
No, you don't. Does Scott not know who Bender is?
Bender?
Bender from Futurama. Bender, the
I don't
astronaut.
watch TV.
He doesn't watch. He's out of it.
I don't watch TV. Yeah.
Sweet.
Sorry, guys.
Blasphemer.
I watch selected things on TV. I don't watch everything as a sponge. You know, I don't sponge that
Is
stuff.
Bender like a robot or something, or what is
Exactly.
it? Okay.
Look like exactly what you just pulled up.
Can he's a smart ass robot that
Of course.
that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
I honestly didn't think we'd actually see any sunspots. I just wanted to.
Yeah, they were all over the place.
There was
I mean, not all over the place, but after not seeing any sunspots for a very, very, very long time,
You didn't look at the sun with no protection and saw spots in front of your eyes everywhere, did you?
yes.
when I was young, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Look at those sunspots.
you know,
Those are sunspots too, right?
The darndest things. I mean, one of the things that we would do is we'd see how long we could stare at the sun, you know, as a kid. You know, this is before
You in California?
we knew about eclipse glasses, you know, so.
Well, when we were in the 70s, they just had those little screw-on filters for the eyepiece. Remember those black filters to look at the sun through the telescope?
Hmm.
That was
I
dangerous.
my first big star party was in 1983. I went to the Texas Star Party. And I think it was an annular eclipse at that time. I'm more than certain of that. And so some guys went ahead and went to Louisiana, near New Orleans. I think it was going to be pretty much visible. And so we had a partial at the Prude Ranch at the Texas Star Party. And so there was a news crew out and everything, and they had a small refractor. They had like a 60 millimeter refractor with one of those little screw on, it's just it was like, it wasn't even smoked glass. It was just like a green neutral density filter, and it was screwed on there, and they were projecting they weren't projecting anything. It just held a card up above the eyepiece. And they let it go for, it wasn't, I don't know, a couple of minutes, it seemed like. And then we heard this pop, and then a shaft of lights coming right up and hitting the card. Well, that's how fast you would go blind, by using one of those things that the filter cracked. So, and every time that we do a global star party and the Astronomical League gets on to talk about their door prizes, they always give that sun warning. This is a big deal. A lot of people don't really know how to observe the sun safely. And so, you use the light concentrating power of a telescope, it can do some serious damage to your eye if you're not doing it right. Okay, so
and that's much more powerful than the little magnifying glass you used to burn ants with. So think about that.
I never burned ants. Okay.
Oh, you didn't? You didn't do that?
I burned paper and leaves and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh, boy.
Never started a forest fire. Never did. No. But I did burn leaves and paper, so. But no ants.
Rebels.
That's right.
Rebels.
So Tyler, what's going on with our astrophotography contest?
Well, I do believe right now we have a total of 17 entries. We do.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm not going to show what everybody's done yet. I'm going to let that build up for at least until half the week. Hoping I get about 80 by the end of the week. I'm hoping.
Okay.
Is that the due date? Is that the end date?
Okay, so the rules are is any telescope. It doesn't have to be Explore Scientific. It doesn't have to be Explore Scientific anything, right? It just has to be with a digital SLR camera.
That's
Okay.
it. It's the only difference.
It's wide open.
I'm just telling you right now, there are some phenomenal images that I'm seeing.
Really?
Out of the 17, they are pretty phenomenal.
Deep sky images, or what kind of images?
There's a comet Neowise, there's Andromeda, there's California Nebula, there's the moon, mainly deep sky stuff,
Okay.
and some Milky Way shots.
Cool.
There's a real cool Milky Way one. I mean, a real cool Milky Way one. That's got the California Nebula, Orion's Nebula, Bernard's Loop. It's got a lot of cool stuff in it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Wes McDonald says DSLR ? Not an astro camera.
Nope, not this one. This one's open for everybody. Everybody. That's what I wanted. I wanted more participants. Not everybody can afford dedicated astronomy camera.
But it's got to be the sky, right? It's got to be pictures of the sky.
Picture of the Milky Way planets, as long as it's a picture of the sky, as Jerry proclaims it, then we're good to go. So yeah, that's what's going on here.
All right. Okay. Well, what we have going on tomorrow is we have the 33rd Global Star Party. We have a lot of our regulars coming on to the program. But you're in the audience, you guys are invited on too if you have something that you'd like to share through your telescope or images you've already made, or a short presentation you'd like to give. And when I say short, somewhere around 10 minutes, max. We have the programming that we set up, and then we have something called the after party, which you can log in Kent Martz will check your audio video and make sure you're all good to go, and then give you the link into the live broadcast, and we'll be happy to see you. So, and then that's tomorrow, starting at 7 p.m. Central. And then we have a 3 o'clock Explore Now program with Damian Peach. I don't know if you've seen any of his images, but Damian's one of the world's best planetary astrophotographers. I had the pleasure of meeting Damian only on telephone. This was years and years ago when I worked for Meade Instruments, and he was using a Meade telescope at that time. I think he's now using like a Celestron 14, something like that. But extraordinary planetary images. He's going to talk about his work. He has his own tutorial program that seems to be pretty popular with these guys that are top-notch photographers, astrophotographers, to share their knowledge like that. He has a Patreon account, so you can support him or you can take classes from him. So that's worked out pretty good to
that's great.
Support him. You know?
Everybody's capable of becoming a world-class imager in that regard. It's nothing magic about it. It's technique and skill and practice.
Practice and patience.
And while there is one thing, it's location is important. So if you're not the best location, you can still do excellent work. It's just your limits are your location.
Thierry Legault, who lives in France, told me that his location was terrible. And I said, well, how do you get so many great images? He says, I shoot all the time. And I'm just, and he's just picking out the best images.
That's like Gary Palmer.
Yeah, like Gary Palmer. Exactly. So, even if you've got bad conditions, even if you live in Singapore and can just shoot through a window, even if you can, whatever, okay, just get out and do it, and you're going to get better and better. So, but that's kind of the coming up report right now. We had a good weekend here in Arkansas. It got warmer on Saturday, got colder, and now it's warm again. So we're starting to fluctuate into the warm, cold type of environment. I heard from somebody out in the chat here that they've got a couple of weeks of clear skies in California. So if you're shooting, make sure you enter the contest. And you can find that on our pages under the Explore Alliance. I can share my screen, I suppose. Let's see. Let me pull up the page first. I'm going multi-screen here, so I can't find my mouse. Here it is. There it is. And show everybody where you can log in at. There we go, and share. Right here. So that's what the page looks like. You'll see it under Explore Alliance DSLR Photography Contest. So you'll find it just by going to Alliance and under Events and Experiences, and it's right there. So, and you can see a nice little video from Tyler there. So anyhow, find my mouse again. I thought it would be easier with multi-screens, but it's not.
It's just more to keep track of.
It's more to keep track of, exactly. So, all right, well, that's great. So, at this point, I think we're good to talk about a continuation where Jerry left off on, effects that can affect your image. And I think we're on to scintillation at this point.
Well, there's so we've gotten through half the document, or just about half, pretty much. All right, where did I put it? Hold on. see if it'll pop up now. There it is. All right, you see that?
Yes.
All right, for those that haven't seen me talk about this yet, I'm just going to go to the top just to show you what paper is about. This paper is available. I wrote it about 3 years ago, I think, and then I updated it a little bit after that. This is a document that shows you everything that can go wrong with your photograph to get you from having those perfect round stars. All right, so
Yeah.
that's our goal. That's typically I want to say that, I guess you could call it the primary goal for astrophotographers for doing deep sky photographs. They want to see tight round stars that are perfect.
Perfectly focused.
And you can pixel peep and zoom the heck out, go to 1000% size on the star image and see that it's still got a slight oval here in the corner, up at the upper right hand corner. It's still slightly oval.
Jerry, the first time
it's
I
like,
met
that's
an
not perfect.
astrophotographer
It's
that
still
was
got
doing that. I was like, are you kidding me?
everything. 99% of the image is perfect, but this little corner
Beautiful image, and all this
Yeah.
incredible detail and stuff. And they're looking at this thing on the corner. And I'm like,
yeah,
"Whoa."
right. So that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, just crop it. There you go.
Just
Done.
crop it. That's what you do. You don't share that stuff.
Yeah.
You make yourself look great.
Yeah, but it is possible. I mean, you can get.
Yeah, it's possible to get, but it takes a lot of things.
man.
It takes a huge number of things, and we're about halfway through now. There are quality issues with equipment. I actually don't talk too much about quality issue. I guess, well, what I should say, there's other things that I don't include in this document that are quality issues in terms of the amount of money you spend on stuff. So that's some things that I need to think about and maybe add to this document. But I grouped this thing into two different things. One is the intrinsic error causes, which are based on your equipment and some of it's on your technique. The other one is extrinsic error causes, which are environmental related for the most part, and things that are kind of out of your control in some regards. There are some things you can do, but most of these things that are extrinsic error causes are out of your control. You can some of them. We'll talk about some other ones here later, but this one is definitely out of your control unless you want to move somewhere else. That basically, you can remedy this stuff by changing your location. And scintillation error is the first one on the list. So scintillation error are changes that occur to the star image when the atmosphere is roiling around and it's not perfect. It's not real stable and steady. And there's a little bit of a contradiction in this regard that I'll talk about in a minute. But basically, the atmosphere changes all the time. But sometimes you have large changes after a storm. You'll have large changes in atmospheric and in terms of temperature and humidity, and it makes the star image move around on your camera image plane, and that builds up over time. So if you're doing a long exposure, 1 minute, 3 minutes, whatever, those motions blob out your star basically, and that's what seeing is. So scintillation, or I should say seeing, is a measurement of scintillation. Yeah, part of it. There's other things that cause your seeing. Let me put it another way. I guess seeing is scintillation. There are other things that cause your stars to blob out that aren't related to scintillation or seeing, is what I should say. But in terms of this goes, and one thing we do to manage the scintillation error is the way we set up our image train in terms of the plate scale. Okay. Typically, if you've got bad skies, you don't want to have such a large image scale where you're oversampled based on the size of the star image. It makes all the stars look blobby then. Okay, so the perfect night at your location, you may be able to get to have a seeing of like 2 arc seconds, let's say, and you've got your camera set up for 2 arc second seeing. Okay, and you got critically sampled stars at that seeing level. But then some nights you might have 3 or 4 arc seconds of seeing. And in that case, you're critically sampled for 2 arc seconds. That means you're oversampled for 4 arc seconds, and the stars look blobby. Because that's all the sky will give you. That's the resolution the sky will give you. So to remedy that, you can redo your image scale to half the focal length, basically. And that'll bring the image scale down to where you're still critically sampled again. But your field of view has improved, perhaps, because your focal length has been cut in half. So the overall effect is that your stars still look sharp. That's the effect of that. There are 2 types of scintillation: long-term scintillation error and short-term scintillation error. Long-term is caused by long-term transmission effects through the atmosphere that are caused by high clouds, haze, that type of thing, things that move across the sky. Airplanes don't cause scintillation, but the exhaust trails could.
Yeah.
From aircraft. You could actually see that on an image. The other thing about scintillation, long-term scintillation error, is that in terms of clouds and high clouds, they actually not only blob out the star based on a random movement, but they also smear the star into oblong shapes because of the motion of the cloud across the plane. It kind of drags the light across, right, as it's moving. So that's what caused. So when you see an oblong star, and you think it's your guiding system, but you know your guide graph was perfect, right? It looks really good, but you still have oblong stars. You know, you say, what the heck is that? It may be because of that smearing effect that the high altitude clouds cause.
That would be one answer. Another answer would be something else you covered too, which is differential flexure.
Differential flexure. That's what we covered last time. That's right. So don't automatically jump on one cause of this type of. It could look identical. You could have identical images that have 2 different reasons of the way they look that way. That's why it's kind of hard to troubleshoot sometimes. You got to really understand what you're looking at and have other information that guides you to the correct answer. For example, the guide graph. If your guide graph looks perfect, but you still have smeared stars, then you know it's not your auto guiding system. But it still could be flexure, right? So it's hard. You just have to understand and look at it that way. The one other type of scintillation, which is what most people see, and this is really seeing, is a short-term scintillation error. That's seeing, and so that's like over a 1 minute period, or actually shorter periods of seeing is much shorter. It's like 1 to 5 seconds is what seeing is, or less than 1 second even. But over time, statistically, a 1 second exposure might show a star that's like, let's say it's 2.5 arc seconds, full width at half maximum. But if you do a 1 minute exposure, it might blob out to three arc seconds, okay, or 3.5 arc seconds, because statistically, as the star moves around, it could move much further distances. It's just more and more samples that you're integrating over time, and that's really the true seeing is over like a 1 minute period. Is if you see a difference between a 1 second exposure on a star and a 1 minute exposure on a star, that's the 1 minute exposure really shows you what the true seeing is for your imaging.
I see. So could you, if you took a 1 second exposure and then a 1 minute exposure and measured the difference in the width of the star or whatever, and how many, if you knew how many arc seconds each pixel was,
right,
then you could determine, I guess, the seeing conditions in the in the terms of arc seconds.
Right.
Correct?
Exactly. That's exactly how. That's why they're related to each other. The full width at half maximum measurement on an image is directly related to the scintillation or the seeing level. That's right. I was going to say something else about that. The difference, I can't remember now. Anyway, that's correct. That is correct.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, great. Don't have any questions in particular.
No questions about that?
No, people are kind of sharing their thoughts about scene conditions a little bit. Clearlight says we all should have a Hubble Space Telescope.
We do.
Get away from, yeah, we all do. We have
It's on the internet. It's on the internet.
It's us. Exactly. Yeah, your tax dollars hard at work.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron Gillis says he earlier suggested that we add the MSRO to the next MSO.
The next MSO?
Yeah.
What's that?
Space flight, something.
Oh, okay.
Getting into space.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. So I told Cameron I just call NASA and get it all figured out. So yeah.
There was something else I was going to say about short-term scintillation error. I think in terms of your camera system, one thing that when you do a focusing run on your camera, if you have automated or even if you manually focus, you always try to focus with the short exposure, with the 1 or 2 second or 3 second exposure, so that you can really detect, get the star shrunk down as small as it's possible to be. That focus position is applicable no matter how long your exposure is, of course, as long as the focus doesn't shift over, much over time. So that would be my suggestion. If you're focusing your camera, use a 1 second exposure or 2 second exposure. And you don't necessarily have to use a really bright star either. You can use one that's fairly dim, like 6 or 8 magnitude.
Yeah.
You don't have to use a third magnitude star to focus on. In fact, I would suggest you use a star, 6 magnitude star for a 1 or 2 second exposure. That way you get you don't overexpose the star. Basically, you don't want to focus on a star that's overexposed. You definitely don't want to do that. So that's all I would say in those terms.
So Clearlight's asking, he says, it's amazing how we can get sharp stars at all. What would cause a double spike on a star? I've heard that it might be something going on in the tube of a Newtonian scope. Any thoughts? Well, it could be, you could have something that looks like multiple spikes due to something called a chimney effect. It's where heat's rising up off the tube. An easy way to see that that's the case is just to throw the image slightly out of focus and see if you can see what looks like shadows from heat waves moving through. It looks like rushing water or something. That could cause that. Other things could be diffraction spikes on a secondary holder, as James, the astrophotographer, is just saying.
Yeah, I would say a diffraction on another place. We see diffraction if you're not pointed through the slit in our observatory and you're looking at the edge of the slit, you'll see a diffraction spike because of that.
I see.
And it'll look like that. It'll look like a double. It'll be just one line.
Mm-hmm. Right. So there's a few things that can make that happen.
Some people like to add diffraction spikes to their refractors by putting these real thin, lines.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
And a cross period in front of their objective.
They buy an ED apo, okay,
Yeah.
no central obstruction, no spider veins, and then they'll put spikes on there, or I think some software actually will put it on there if you want it. So
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
It looks cool. It has a certain look to
Well,
it.
it's got that traditional look of a star with the spikes. That's what people always think of when they see a star. Just like when they look at our AR line of telescopes, they look like real telescopes because they get these huge dew shields on them.
Yeah.
Big fat dew shield on them with this, refractor shape, like a cartoon refractor.
Mm-hmm. James points out that the focuser tube extending into the tube could also make this happen. I suppose that's true.
You get that typically causes vignetting when you have the draw tube occluding some of the light.
Yeah, it's kind of a shadow effect.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen a diffraction spike, unless I don't know on specifically on a draw tube. Maybe so.
Maybe like the edges. You know, one of the things that you should look out for on, you know, all your internal rings, you know, attaching for your camera. So if you have like extension tubes or whatever, or interior areas of your focuser, if it's just anodized black, okay, that can be a very, very shiny surface, and your camera can pick up effects from it. So that usually what that means is a loss of contrast. But
you get light coming in at a certain angle. It's a very shallow angle, and it'll reflect right off that anodized surface.
Yeah, that's right. Very true. Very true. Let's see. Wes says it needs flocking. Yes, you can buy
that. What is that black paint? There's a couple black paints. One is Vanta black, but there's also a cheaper version. There's other black paint you can buy that's really dark. I just saw a YouTube video on it recently. I can't remember what it was called, but there's a paint you can buy that's really, really black.
Called flat black.
It's much blacker.
Much blacker than that, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I think Lockheed had like an anodizing process. They brought it to us at Mead Instruments, and they just showed me. They had like a little sample in a jewel case for me to look at, and it was the blackest thing I'd ever seen in my life. You know, it looked like
a hole.
It looked like a hole. It was so dark.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing when you see that.
And they were saying, "Oh yeah, we can do this the inside of your tubes at Mead Instruments," but it was like, I mean, it was hundreds of dollars to do one tube, you know, and you know, so by the time you put that on, put it in the process, it was also delicate. You couldn't just, you know, once you did this, you had to like treat it with kid gloves, you know, and so we studied it for a while, and we decided, no, that's not the way to go. You know?
This is a black. It's called Musso black. Is what this I saw YouTube. I just looked up the YouTube video. It's called Musso black.
It sprays out of a can.
Yeah.
Really?
It's I think so. Let me see here. I'll provide a link here.
Musso black.
It's MUSOU. MUSOU.
KEY.
It's the new world's blackest paint. Turns anything.
Sounds like the kind of paint that Wile E. Coyote would want.
Yeah, right. The paint on the wall.
Run into a brick wall, you know.
Right, so. He paints it on the side of the canyon, and he paints white stripe like a road in there.
Yeah, but the Roadrunner would go right through it, right? And then exactly. You would go, well, I'm going to go after it, and then he would hit the wall. So that's just the way it goes. I would hope, Mr. Clearlight says, I hope the makers of telescopes would put that on the inside of their scope from the start. It's just really expensive to put on. Now this Musso black, I have no idea. I don't know what it costs.
Yeah, I don't know. I know this guy on the video painted a whole room with it, and he went inside it and he couldn't see nothing. It's like he's floating into space.
His whole room?
Yeah, he did a whole small room. Let me. I'll get the link and I'll share it with you, and you can. I've got the link right here. Let me share it in chat, and you can share it to everybody and see what they think.
Yeah. I can't remember that first stuff I saw from Lockheed. I think it was like carbon nanotubes or something like that, you know, that was somehow applied.
There's a link. But that is I don't know how costly it is, but if it gets to be cost effective, then maybe we could do it on our high-end scopes.
Yeah, we could try it out. Have to look at the price of it.
the camera manufacturers could use it also.
Yeah. I mean, Kodak used to sell flat black paint, that you would paint the interior areas of your lenses and stuff like that. And when I was studying zone system, it was the first time that I'd seen photographers actually doing anything to their camera gear, to tweak it a little bit. And, when you put in the, you start eliminating these reflective areas, all of a sudden the contrast would start to build up.
Yeah.
In some cases, it was pretty dramatic, so.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, next week I'm buying some of that, and I'm painting this whole office.
Musso black, and then
black.
it'll be just like being in space in a black hole. Basically, you can't see nothing. He couldn't even see the hand in front of his face.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
There was no light being reflected at all inside.
Chris Larson says, interesting. I'm in chemical industrial coatings and application equipment from 92 to 94. I worked with the NASA Ames Research Center in the Bay Area on light absorbing and radar absorbent coatings and equipment.
Oh, cool.
I learned a lot from you guys. Thank you, Clear Light. Cameron Gillis says, how about 1 or 2 jet black baffles instead of expensive paint? Could be less expensive. Yeah, it could be less expensive. We already put in baffles into our tubes. But
it's baffling.
It is baffling. Actually, getting baffles in the exact right position is critical, and a lot of telescope makers don't do it right.
How do you attach those baffles to the wall of the tube?
What they'll do is they have they of course look round, but it's like it's got like a turned up edge on it that's flush with the tube, and then they put another pipe inside the tube, and it's got a go no go gauge, so they know just how far to push it down.
I see.
And then they lift it out, and then they put the next one in.
I see. So it's pressure fit. It's just
And what's done in the telescope industry is then they'll go in with flat black paint and they'll fog it. They'll take the spray can and they'll fog it on one side, fog it on another side. They might do that 2 or 3 times, so it's just evenly fogged with flat black.
You need to dip it into Musso black. Make the whole tube, the outside and the inside.
Everything.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Be like an invisible telescope
at night, right? It's
just an invisible telescope. You'd have a camera hanging out in the middle of the air. You
like
wouldn't
a shadow out
see it.
there.
It's like, where the hell's the telescope? I got the camera sitting here in the middle of the air.
That's right. You'll only know it from the PMC-8 light blinking.
Right.
That's all. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, well, you guys have a good evening this Monday, and we will see you tomorrow for our daily show. And then at 7:00, we've got our global star party. Again, I'd love to have some of you join us for the after party. If you've already joined us for the after party and want to do it again, please do. We've had some great guests so far doing that. And then you guys do not want to miss Damian Peach on Wednesday. Normally our show is at 4:00, but to accommodate his schedule, we're going to have him on at 3:00. So we're coming on an hour early, and that'll be a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing some of his amazing images and talking and catching up with Damian. It's been a big span since he and I actually really talked.
Did you say that was an Explore Now episode?
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. It's all about Damian. So
that'll be great. Is he going to demonstrate some of his techniques, do you think?
Maybe if he's pressed, he might.
It's just more of an interview talking about what he's done.
More of an interview to talk about his work. He does share demonstrations. He's got videos of how he does his image processing. I'm sure how he does image capture. all of that stuff. But then he does these one-on-one classes similar to what Gary Palmer does, and Molly Wakeling, I guess, is now doing these kinds
Oh,
of.
she's doing that now.
Yeah, I
That's
believe
cool.
so. So yeah. Anyways, we will see you. We'll see you tomorrow, you guys. If you get clear skies tonight, and you're getting out and imaging for the astrophotography contest, I'm wishing you clear skies all night long. Take care.